Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Before we get started on this morning's briefing, let me preface by saying yes, we're going to be tackling one of the subjects that a lot of black folks just don't handle very well, entertainment. Now, if you're one of those people who obsesses about hip-hop, particularly who's beefing with whom, then this video's not for you. Even though I'm going to be dealing with a situation regarding 50 Cent and Diddy, with Trump in there for a threesome, I suppose, what I'm not doing is examining this for the sake of entertainment value. This is about a case study in what to do and what not to do. Now, for those of you who may not know, 50 Cent apparently has got some sort of bad blood going with Diddy, and I guess he's been watching the Diddy trial very closely, so closely in fact that he posted online that he was going to be telling Donald Trump, don't give Diddy a pardon. That's what he was saying. And it's not a matter of Donald Trump reaching out to 50 Cent. It's 50 Cent saying, you know what? I don't like some of the stuff that he said about Trump, so because of that, I'm going to reach out to Trump and let him know how I feel about this guy. This, by the way, is the same 50 Cent who called out other street dudes for cooperating with prosecutors. Is this dry snitching or perhaps wet snitching? I'm not sure. When you go telling the guy who runs the federal government what somebody said, especially in the middle of a federal trial, is that running to the feds? I'm just asking for a friend. And then, after the white media got a hold of this story, 50 Cent decided that he was going to delete this Instagram post. So he puts it up, then it gets a lot of attention, then suddenly he takes it down. Whatever you want to call this, it's definitely not courageous and it's not honorable either. Not because he's publicly plotting against Diddy, I could care less about that. But because 50 Cent has never and would never try something like this with any white person. Show me the white person who he's publicly said that he would try to block them from getting a pardon or would do anything to make it more likely that they would go to prison or stay there. And again, for the people who don't listen so well, I'm no fan of Diddy. As I've said about Cosby and R. Kelly, this is not about him. As black people, we know all too well that it's only too easy to call some white person with a badge or a gavel to get some other black person put behind the 8 ball. That's no flex. If 50 Cent wants to show that he's got power and influence, then he ought to be willing to go on a public jihad against a white person accused of a crime, especially against a black person. And go ahead and talk about how you go to the president to deny them a pardon if they happen to get convicted. There's been plenty of examples that he could run with, like, say, Derek Chauvin. Say, anyone seen 50 say a word about talking to Trump about denying that creep a pardon? Now that would be gangsta. And another thing, what is it with 50 Cent and all this butt-kissing for the white right that he's been doing? He actually wrote, ostensibly with a straight face, that Trump was, quote, working tirelessly to make America great again. And I have to wonder if that was the reason he took this post down, because of how shamelessly subservient it makes him look. I mean, talk about laying it on thick. I'll bet somebody had to use a shovel in order to move this level of phony praise. But it wasn't just Trump that he likes to suck up to. Right now, 50 Cent's down in Louisiana, one of the most backward states in America, which explains why it's a blood red state. These days, he's trying to start a film and television studio, and it seems he's already playing the role of bootlick to the good old boys down there. He was hugging up on that racist wannabe DeSantis, Jeff Landry, the governor of that state, who has been as much of a blatant anti-black racist as you could possibly think of. This year, Landry tried to duplicate what DeSantis and his GOP degenerates did in Florida, pass a slate of state amendments that would consolidate all the state's money under the governor, or at least under the Republican-controlled legislature, and create some sort of specialty court who would basically rubber stamp whatever judicial outcomes Landry wanted. But what seems to have gotten 50 Cent to be so chummy with the wannabe David Duke Jeff Landry is that Landry tried to pass an amendment to lower the state's maximum income tax rate. Now, in a dirt poor state like Louisiana, that would mean nothing for most of the residents there, but for the few financially well off, say like a couple of plantation owners and carpetbaggers like Curtis Jackson, this would be a great thing for them. He even did a video endorsing Landry's plan. So this was a law tailor-made to benefit a tiny handful of people in the state at the expense of the other 97%. No wonder all of these amendments that Landry proposed were roundly defeated and rejected by the citizens of Louisiana. Clearly 50 Cent didn't go down to the bayou to create opportunities for black people. He's there because Louisiana's a poor state with a small population, which makes it easy pickings. A lot of the upper middle class and rich have been on the move ever since the pandemic. Elon Musk has left California and wholesale bought a town in Texas so he could turn it into his own Temu version of Cape Canaveral. And now 50 Cent has basically leased the city of Shreveport and is going to use it as his own personal backlot. Tyler Perry bought an unused military base and converted it into a studio. Looks like 50 Cent did him one better than that and got control of an entire city basically at no charge. This is what's happened after the pandemic. You see, California has the country's largest population, so as a result, when a lot of those Californians realized that they could work remotely and still enjoy their inflated salaries in these poorer states, that's when we started seeing all of these small and medium-sized cities get huge influxes of California refugees, who, with their inflated California salaries, were able to outbid everybody else in the rest of the country for housing, which has led to a hideously distorted housing market nationwide in the places that these people go. And as I alluded to earlier with Elon Musk, there's also a number of wealthy individuals who have also decided to do the same thing. You see, these people have already gotten all the low-hanging fruit from the big developed metropolises like Phoenix and Vegas and Dallas. Now they're moving on to the cities in the old Confederate states that aren't so well developed and seeing about trying to suck them dry next. That's all that's happening here. 50 Cent doesn't care about Louisiana, and I'm sure the people of Shreveport aren't deluding themselves into thinking he gives a damn about them, because he doesn't. Compared to what he's used to, Louisiana is going to be dirt cheap for him to operate in, and he was hoping as a bonus to finesse himself a big juicy tax break in an economically depressed state. It's no different than corporations that set up shop in third world countries. They're poor and hence easy to take over. Hopefully, after the way that he shamelessly supported a racist like Jeff Landry's attempt to take over the state, people will see what his real agenda is. It's not America first, damn sure not even black first. It's 50 first. And if 50 just wants to look out for number one, well, it is what it is. But as I've always told you, you should only support people to the extent that they support you. He's a vulture capitalist, hoping to get some big tax breaks in a poor state, which have to be paid by the working class citizens there. Tax breaks aren't free, because the state programs and services still have to be paid somehow, and if the people with the most money aren't paying, then that means the people with the least money have to. And these states and municipalities have all kinds of dirty ways to set up fees and other scams, mostly aimed at black residents, to collect money from them without having to call it a tax hike, even though that's exactly what it is. This is why the police have quotas. Their job is to be the collection arm for a racist Ponzi scheme. And as for 50 Cent, apparently having tens of millions of dollars simply isn't enough, and having all those tax breaks and exemptions for the wealthy isn't enough either. The hillbilly governor of Louisiana is even more of a brain-dead lout than DeSantis is, if such a thing is possible. At least you can understand DeSantis' idiotic rantings. That Jeff Landry guy is like Master Yoda's retarded cousin. Half of what he says is unintelligible, the rest is unintelligent. He's an unabashed racist, no different than DeSantis or Donald Trump for that matter. These are the very fine folks that 50 Cent's hugging up on and palling around with these days. I would have more respect for him if he stuck to hanging out with drug dealers and thugs. At least the criminals have a code. These reprobate racist 50 Cent supporting don't. I don't know what the beef is between 50 Cent and Diddy, and frankly, I don't care. As I said after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, there's a way to do things and a way not to do them. When you have a problem with another black person, you already know that when you run to the white powers that be, you're not doing it because you expect justice. You're doing it because you're expecting this white supremacist system to produce a certain outcome. But it's also one that you know that you would never do against members of the dominant society. This is why, as the black grassroots, we don't truck with these celebrities. As I've said for nearly 2 decades now, when you ingratiate yourself with the white media, then your associations are with them, and their agenda becomes yours because you're depending on them for your daily bread. You need to be plugged into their machine. As the Bible says, wherever a man's treasure is, there his heart is also. By the time you climb the ladder in the white media, they've got their hooks so deep into you, you'll do anything for them because you think you're one of them. Celebrities are creatures of self-interest by and large. You have to be to make it in these white supremacist structures. Now, that may be good enough for Curtis Jackson, but should it be good enough for us? No matter what you think of Diddy's depravity, the truth is 50 Cent's not showing up because he's a conscientious citizen. Obviously, he's got an axe to grind. Now, that part I have no problem with. If somebody's crossed you or otherwise you're at odds with them and they wind up in a bind, well, it's fair game to go ahead and cheer on their downfall. But running to White Daddy to hand him the axe to swing? Now what are we supposed to make of that? There's no denying, though, that the man is strictly out for himself, so in that respect, 50 and Diddy do have a lot in common. He's gonna strip mine his little Louisiana purchase for whatever he can get, and then when he's inevitably offered a better tax incentive from, say, Georgia or maybe even Texas, he'll also pick up tent and move there overnight. And he'll no doubt be happy to smile and shake hands with whomever's in charge in those places, regardless of their racist track record, too. Well, at least I think I finally got the answer to why he calls himself 50 Cent. Because that's about as much as his blackness is worth. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Jermaine White, Seymour Abney, JAS Investment, Norma Anthony, and Kwanzaa JV. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.